Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down the meta, what's happening in Japan, and how will it impact Taiwan. Today, I'm talking all things Surging Sparks. We just a few expansions released for us, for Japan got the full list legal for competitive play this past weekend for their City League Championships. So we're going to break down exactly what the most impactful cards from a set, where you find rogue or meta-defining archetypes that can keep up with our current meta decks. Plus, Pokemon released a ton of new cards this past weekend. Look at the new Generation Battle theme decks, already them very competitively, or could have an impact in the metagame. So without further ado, let's jump right into these brand new cards. So one of the preferences say these aren't going to be the strongest cards of all time, but some of them have some very good niche plays. Basic Energy X is very good. Once your turn, you may attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. Now, I originally read this, I thought it was fire types. No, it's any energy. So it's an amazing energy acceleration to any of your Pokemon in play. Now, the only downside, it is in fact a stage 2 Pokemon. But if you have a couple of these basicans out here, you can energy accelerate around the entire of your board. This is really good in decks with really focused around the stellar type. So one would have multiple different sort of basic energy they need to fulfill the requirement of the attack. I generally see this could see some competitive play. Temper Coco EX, I think, is a must staple for Miraidon. It's 200 HP, a free retreat cost, and for a lightning and colorless energy, 60 damage plus 20 more for each of your bench Pokemon. Now, Miraidon is kind of going for the areas of your underdecks. If you have a full bench, you're doing additional 160 damage, plus the 60 already, 220 damage. On your first turn going second, it's incredibly powerful. Now, yes, you do have Raikou, which can do a little bit more damage, but when Raikou goes, this is an amazing sort of replacement for this one, or just generally having a one-more split with Raikou and Tapu Koko. This has a free retreat, so you have another pivot option, which I think is really good. Jalgi X is a really fun deck for the Metang style decks. 100 damage plus 20 more for each metal energy attached to this Pokemon. Now, granted, you have to have a ton of energies on to get this big one-hit KO potential, but honestly, it's just pretty fun. But also, when you go first or second turn, when you're really struggling, you get to draw a card for his first attack. Not terrible. Sylveon X is really good. It kind of goes for more of this wall style sort of effects that Pokemon wants to do. With that safeguard ability, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon from attacks for your opponent's Pokemon EX. Now, I do like this sort of effect. The only downside is in fact a stage 1 Pokemon. I'm sure we're going to get a really good EV, and I'm not sure we already have one, which can energy accelerate straight and have a Sylveon instantly straight away. Otherwise, it's pretty weak. I would say other wall style cards are much stronger, but generally, this is a good one to have in your back pocket. Now, Lilligant reminds me a lot of the Fomantis back in the Sun and Moon era. Your Grass and Fire Pokemon do 20 more damage to the opponent's active Pokemon. Now, if you find a way with the Charizard, the anti-Charizard decks, you're always like 10 or 20 damage short. Well, this Lilligant can really come in handy, and I think it's a very good, strong sort of effect on ability just to do additional more damage. And especially if you're playing a basic one or a single price style archetype, this is a really good must for your Grass and Fire Pokemon. Toedscool I really like as a really good support Pokemon. So when this Pokemon is on your bench, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2 colorless less. Now, I love this one. If you look at how many of the attacking Pokemon you have right now always have 2 retreat costs, Palkia, the likes of Bleak Dragapult, and also Charizard could just come to mind as being 2 energy retreat costs. Check this one here. Now we have 3 retreat. Yes, I know we have Latias, which is really, really strong for basic Pokemon, but having this ability on the other Pokemon as well, like the Palkia, like the Charizard, this is pretty strong. Plus, you also have the really good other Toedscool, which limits the opponent if they can use their Pokestop or Superior Energy Retrieval. So I generally think this Toedscool is really powerful. Now, without looking at what the best decks are in the format right now, in Surging Sparks, they have linking the Pokemon's in Japan's the Elite Four. They released some of their top sort of picks from their sort of style play. And then let's look at this Pikachu with that Magneton. Now, the Magneton has got a lot of love. It's similar to like the Dussault. You knock it itself off, and you can attach, but instead of putting damage cards on it, you attach 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Pokemon in play. Now, why I like this one, it will instantly think about Iron Hands of Pikachu, just energy accelerate them very, very early on. Now, this is incredibly powerful. And this is exactly where this deck is kind of built around. Getting these big one-hit KOs with Pikachu with that Gravity Storm, bringing down the likes of Palkia, the Gardevoirs, the Dragapults, the Charizard, getting the HP so Pikachu can actually get a big one-hit KO. Pikachu has the amazing like sturdy ability, so instantly it doesn't really kind of go around it unless your opponent can actually get a big one-hit KO as a free full health. Plus, also we have Iron Hands, which is a really good other secondary attacking option. As a Terra Pokemon, you want to get all your setup, why not play a 4-4 line of Noctowl? This deck seems absolutely insanely strong. I love Crispin as well. I love the Super Rod, so you can bring the energies back in. Energy Accelerator with Crispin, it's so powerful and actually power up these Pikachus much earlier on. Similar like the Hourglass as well. You effectively can end the turn having more energies out and play on your Iron Hands or even your Pikachu, which I absolutely love. Now, do I think Pikachu has some competitive viability in the format? Well, yes. I think it's still very early on. We've only had one weekend in Forest one. I'm really excited to see where Pikachu is going to go around. Now, Hydreigon is another card which is getting a lot of love about this one, and I think it's very strong. Obviously, his first attack, 200 damage, and discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck is really strong, but the other attack doing 130 damage plus additional 130 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon is also really strong. But how on earth do we energy accelerate it much quickly? Well, we have the upper Neo energy, which is really strong, counter game, so you can effectively attack for 1 energy on its first attack, or even Crispin as well, the energy accelerate as well. You have a ton of energy acceleration for this Hydreigon, and how do you get all the stuff out? Well, we have Serendipity, we have Pidgeot, we also have a 101 line of Justinor as well. Do additional more 130 damage. So effectively, you could do 130 damage to 4 of your opponent's Pokemon on your second turn of the game, which is absolutely devastating. I think this has got a lot of potential. I think counter game really unlocks Hydreigon the best. Or if you want to have like an absolute truck at the start, you've got Petron and the Poison Bound Mochi, doing like a 240 damage, and then discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. Even that is still very strong. Generally think this has got a lot of work to this one. I'm unsure if this is the best way to play this one, but it's a really unique style of play. Speaking of a unique style deck, Tatsugiri. It's definitely a card which I misread completely at the start. When I first read, look at the top 10 cards and put any Pokemon down there, I instantly thought, oh, it's basic Pokemon. No, it's anyone's. So this one here has gone absolutely full on with the Dusclops, Dusknoir, and also the Togekiss as well. What I love about this one is you can go 4 copies of Dusclops out there, or if you find that one, then just chuck those of Dusknoirs that evolve into them in the later turn, or effectively, if for Era 0, just effectively put a ton of Dusclops and Dusknoir. And if your first attack as well, doing the 100 damage. Well, you have Togekiss as well. You have so many ways to kind of get additional more prize cards. As you know, Togekiss is my favorite Pokemon. You can check that in the banner. And anyone who knows me, Togekiss is my favorite card. And I'm really excited to see how this is going to really work in this sort of set. And I think it's a really unique style of deck that I definitely want to try out. We can also get energy powered up for your when you go second for Crispin and the Sparkling Crystal as well. You have so many ways to get this Tatsugiri out much quickly on in the game. Plus have lots of free retreat. You have like some Latias, you have the Bell as well, which I think is really strong to get a Supporter card. So it's a guarantee to get your Crispin because we only play 1 boss and 2 copies of Crispin. You're mainly focused on those Pokemon cards, really get that energy acceleration and spread around your damage counters, effectively win in like 2 or 3 turns. This is a really fun Tatsugiri style deck. And the last one is obviously this wall style deck. People are really enjoying this Milotic, making sure it's not damaged from the opponent's EXs, Terra Pokemon. But now we have a 2-2 line of Gastrodon, slowing down the likes of Gardevoir and the Skyward and Disc up on the bench, or even slowing down Charizard or Pidgeot. They have to use ability in the active spot. This is a really interesting way of playing. I think Milotic is definitely a really good threat to the metagame. It is very strong, very powerful, and if we're in a format where there's a lot of Terra Pokemon really kind of going around like Charizard, but Charizard numbers are slowly a little bit dwindling, so maybe this Milotic is only have a time to shine just for a little bit. But honestly, I think it's really strong, especially if it's really cool at full blower as well, moving in tool cards, stadium cards, and special energies. So it instantly helps you in these tough Lugia matchups. So now we've looked at what the Heavenly Kings think are the strongest style archetypes. I believe they are going to be having a tournament in a few weeks' time to determine the next year's Heavenly Kings. So I can't wait to really talk about that, really see exactly what the exciting decks which they kind of produce. So now let's actually look at the City League results and see exactly how has it really impacted the metagame. Well, honestly, it's changed quite a bit. Now, we see the likes of Regiment was still up at the top being 15.2%, but Dragapult has almost swapped in Charizard to nearly being 10% of the metagame. Now, that's pretty powerful, I would say, overall. But Dragapult is still not getting the results. It's still not getting multiple wins turn after turn after turn, but still having one of the best conversion rates in top 16. Charizard and Regidrago numbers have definitely nearly the same. I think Regidrago is an absolutely huge increase right now in Japan. We've seen its numbers kind of go increase. Haven't really gained anything new from the likes of Sparking Surges, but I think overall it's very powerful. Another deck which has seen a lot of competitive play and I generally think got quite a few good cards is the Ancient Box. You can see that being 6%. Now, you get that brand new Miraidon, which is 180 damage if you use an ancient attack last turn, which obviously you are going to be using if you're playing Ancient Box, where we play the Great Tusk, or even the Roaring Moon. So I think it's definitely that number makes sense. The rest of it, one, we can see here there's lots of 2 or 3%. And I like to see this one. We're seeing a little bit more of a diverse metagame. We're not seeing just 50% is just 2 archetypes. 50% is about 4 decks, 4 or 5 decks, which is really, really exciting to see. We're seeing the meta slowly sort of evolve. We're still seeing Trapagos and Palkia having a lot of success. Heck, even Clawfus had such an amazing time, maybe 3%. Of the metagame. It won like two City Leagues as well. Didn't really gain anything brand new cards, but we're seeing some really unique cards like in Lugia playing the Dust Ball. Like look at the bottom of your deck and put Pokemon in there, which I actually really like because how many times you get your Archeopsis get Ionia at the bottom of the deck, and so you could play Dust Ball and get those cards right back into your hand to discard them with Ultra Ball or even a Jack, or even research who can actually get into the game. So we can see this format is slowly a little bit evolving. There isn't any brand new sort of Surging Spark decks which have like overcome the metagame, but we're still so early. We're only 3 days of this new metagame. So I'm excited to see this week about how it's going to evolve in Japan. Now actually we see the top 6 archetypes, not much has really changed, but we do see Charizard actually completely falls down to that 5th position. Ancient Roy Moon is still up at the top, but Regidrago went from 6 all the way up to 2nd place. Now we know Regidrago loves to move around. It was first 1 week, then back to 6th, and now up to 2nd. Could we see Regidrago's number continue? Gardevoir and Lugia also shot up a few places, and Controller is back in at 6th place, with the Wolf style archetype being one of the most best ways to play Snorlax right now. And that's something which I'm a huge fan of right now. Controller, I think, is in a really good spot right now, especially for the likes of the Gastrodon, and also the release of Milotic as well. If we're seeing the numbers of Charizard card like dwindle, we might not see Milotic be as strong right now in the metagame. But definitely think about Charizard is always about that comeback right now. And Charizard, I think, is one of Vengeance to really tear the metagame in Japan very, very soon. So now I'm going to actually look at some of the decks which have done really well in the Surging Sparks metagame and kind of see what sort of new cards are the big decks actually taking in. So now I want to look at this Miraidon, and this Miraidon is really interesting because it does play that 2-2 line of Magneton. Because I think it's really strong, it actually energy accelerates your Iron Hands. You can actually power it up. This is mainly, I feel like, an Iron Hand style deck, but also you have Raichu as a really good closer. You can see there is a ton of support Pokemon, both it be like the Fetendipity, the Latias, the Squawkabilly, the Zapdos, the Radiant Greninja. So many cards to actually make the deck function. I feel like you're mainly always going to be attacking the Iron Hands and Raichu. And what I love about this one is with having the Miraidon, and with having a Magneton, you actually, if your opponent just takes a 1 prize KO, you can actually help your price rate just a little bit out as well. So I do think that's really, really strong. Also, love they have the Excited Stadium or Excited Amphitheater to have additional more HP on your Iron Hands. Chuck a Bravery Charm on there, you're basically having like additional 80 more HP, which is really, really strong. So all of a sudden, Iron Hands of 310 HP. This is very, very scary and can be very difficult for certain archetypes to KO. We can see here they're focused on the boss's orders. That's a really good one to just go boss in the late sort of style game. But I definitely feel like the way how you would play this one is use the Magneton and NGX to your Iron Hands, constantly streamline these ones, get a couple of prize cards that way, and have Raichu as a really good closer in the end game. I do like the style deck, and I'm really excited to see how Magneton is really going to evolve. Number one is his Ancient Box. I did allude to it a little bit earlier without having that new Koraidon. Now, we had the previous Koraidon as well, which had more damage the amount of Agent Pokemon haven't played, but this one does even more damage as well, doing an additional 150 damage if you use a Vengeance Fletching or even Land Collapse in the later game. As we know, the format is incredibly fast right now, turboing through an archetype so quickly. So that's why I think Great Tusk is in a really good spot for Ancient Box as another good secondary attacking option. Having this Koraidon as well is really strong. Also like the Cornerstone Ogerpon as well, for certain archetypes which can be very, very difficult to actually deal with. I think it's a good one just having a wall time, potentially slow down your opponent by just a little bit, or effectively get you a couple and you gain additional more turns. I think Ancient Box is in a good spot right now in the metagame. With this new Koraidon, the best way to actually play Ancient Box, and will it actually kind of get a bit more wins into its spell? We see it doing incredibly well in Japan, so I genuinely feel like this new Koraidon has put that new surge of life into Ancient Box. Now, I did mention the wall style deck here with a 3-3 line of Milotic, which I really love, which I think is really strong, and also a one line of Gastrodon as well. What I think is really cool is having a 1-1 line of Palkia, so you can NG Accelerate either to Palkia as a late game attacking option, or have a Milotic that NG Accelerate and attack with it much, much earlier on. I think it's in a pretty good spot right now for Wolves to sit there. It's also with a Noivern as well, to slow down your opponent for them not really kind of like going to be attacking up with their basic Pokemon, which I think is really good. You're never going to use the other one as well, but I think it's just a good one to have overall. I do think this is going to be a threat and can continue to change. If we're seeing the decrease of play in Charizard or any of the other Terra Pokemon in play, I would say the likes of Milotic will kind of like dwindle their numbers just a little bit. But if you think about Charizard and Dragapult are about nearly like 30% of the metagame, that's not really going to change anytime soon. And also, Pikachu did in fact get a win, so it's not just some decks which people, it's an overhyped archetype. I think it's a pretty good one. This one played like Blissey as well, so you can move around the energies to this one. You have the hype, you have the Power Glass, you have the Turbo Energize, you have multiple ways to get loads of energies out and play. You have the Monkey Dory as well to spread some more damage out there if you can't get the Stadium card to stick around. I think it's a really, really fun archetype and really fun. Definitely focusing more on the Blissey as well to Energy Accelerate to this one, then move around with Glass Trumpet in the late style of game. So I generally think this is a unsolved style deck. I think Pikachu is definitely going to be a threat to the metagame going forward. I think doing 300 damage is incredibly scary. Like some Monkey Dory, you don't need a Stadium card in play to actually get the additional damage counters, which you need to KO for like Charizard, Dragapult, and Gardevoir. So yeah, be scared of Pikachu. That's all I'm going to be saying going forward. Now, if we look outside the winning list, what have actually done well overall? So Trapagos as well play the likes of a 202 line of Slacking. Slacking is a really interesting sort of EX Pokemon. You can only really attack if your opponent has an EX or V in play. Well, we're in a very big basic sort of format with like the Trapagos, with Charizard, with Regidrago, with Dragapult. So that's not really too scary. And the attack does 180 damage for 2 special energy cards, which is pretty scary. So also you can chuck a double turbo on this one, or you can have Jessens, your boomerangs, you can actually hit the big one-hit KO. But I think it's a really good secondary attack on Trapagos. So Trapagos only really caps out now with the double turbo at 220 damage. Chuck a Slacking in here, 260 is still pretty good numbers. It does one-hit KO quite a lot of stuff. You have a 1-1-1 line of Dusknoir, so you can spread around damage counters that way effectively. So yeah, I think it's a really good style of deck. I'm excited to see how this will really work out. And I like having this one. It did get top 16, so not the best result, but definitely I like seeing that experimentation in the Surging Sparks metagame. Now, this top 4 Roy Moonlake, I think is very strong. Have a 1-1 line of Gastrodon. This slows down like some Gardevoir, so it's a single prize archetype, which you can really struggle against. It slows down Charizard as well, so it has to be in the active spot to either Energy Accelerate for one or search their card for a Pidgeot. It slows down Dusknoirs as well, which is also really, really important and a huge threat to this deck. And they can just kind of like use the Dusknoir, KO a Squawkabilly, KO a Fetantipity if they're on the bench Pokemon, or even heck, even a Roy Moon. So I think that's a really good way to slow down any of these Dusknoirs out and play, and they force them to actually be in the active spot. The rest of this one is a very sort of simple Roy Moon. How we've seen this one, the Binding Mochi, the Petron, the very, very fast, very aggressiveness of the Roy Moon. So I think it's a pretty nice one overall for Roy Moon, and definitely an interesting route to actually pilot your Roy Moon. And also we're seeing Regis still kind of like, it's still alive and kicking, got top 8-1. We're definitely focusing more on the Pikachu as another attacking option. Obviously you want to have like a full bench. You can get the Regigigas and Accelerate to Pikachu and just constantly streamline those attacks of turn after turn after turn. We also have the Wellspring Ogerpon and Iron Hands of other good secondary attacking option, and that free retreat for the Latias. I think Regis is fun. I never think this is going to be a very competitive deck, but it's really fun to see it. Still see people have like huge hopes on Japan. We haven't really seen that really have any success in our metagame. No one's really trying it out now. Still, Area Zero is legal for us, and no one's really been the brave soldiers to play Regis, because I generally think it is so weak to likes of Dusknoir and stuff like that. That's why I feel like it's not played as often right now. Another fun, and now just kind of like looking into the future game, what are the current best decks? Are they generally too strong? Like the Regimold, Trapagos, Dragapult, they are so much stronger than likes of these new Pikachus and Hydreigon. So that's definitely something which I'm really interested to see is can any of these new decks actually survive? Will Pikachu really make an impact? Now, obviously, Pikachu is it's the mascot Pokemon, and Pikachus have normally done pretty well, and this is a very, very good Pikachu right now. So I'm intrigued to see exactly how we'll really make an impact to the metagame, and can any of these rogue decks really survive? Like some of these Regis, the fronts of Hydreigons, can they actually survive this metagame? Or generally are just the current decks just a little bit too strong, and they have really kind of like holding them back in bay? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to like and subscribe. Comment down below, what is your favorite deck from Surging Sparks? Right now, it doesn't seem like it's the most competitive format right now, but we're only 3 days into the competitive sort of scene over in Japan. Obviously, we're only a few weeks away till it's released for us. We're going to see how exactly if the likes of Pikachu or Hydreigon can actually make a big splash to the metagame. I'm going to be back in a few days' time with a couple shorts, and hopefully a video talking about why I think stationary Pokemon aren't getting much support and kind of like losing favor in the Pokemon trading card game scene. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name's Charlie TCG, and I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.